So in the last class, we have discussed about a few things about ETL testing or ETL bugs, and also different tools for ETL testing. What are the development tools? What are the testing tool, ETL tools, and so on, right? And also I have shown you how to install the query search tool as a trial version in your Windows operating system, and also I have shared the documentation part, so which you can use it for installation. And apart from this, I'll also show you a sample simple project, so which is provided by query search tool. I have shared you the mapping document. Let me repeat once again and then go further. So here, this is a mapping document, a sample data warehouse tutorial. This one is provided by query search itself. So once you have installed your query search, you can get this document, or else I can copy these documents in your Google Drive. Okay. So as I said, this is provided to different combination or different source as well as target databases. So I have shown you this yesterday, how to connect to the JetCT data, MySQL, and the target database is again MySQL. Both are different databases, even though MySQL, but the source tables and also target tables I have shown you. When you connected to the SQL developer, you can access the source tables and as well as the target table. So that I have shown you in the last class. Let me show you once again. So I have a VM here. Just a moment. Right. One second. Right. So I have already told you how to connect to the MySQL using SQL Developer tool that we have covered in the last class. And now we will take a small user story. User story is nothing but this is the data model we have. So this is the user story. So this is Jet City is a company, so which is electronics corporation. They have some data. They have to do some kind of data warehouse project. So they have provided some schemas. So this is a source schema, Jet City, and also they have provided some XMart CSV files. And these are the target tables we have. This is the data model of the target tables: customer dimension, address dimension, revision date, product, order set, and items, and etc. And these are the different mappings they have provided in this particular sheet. Okay, so what is the mapping number, source table, source column, and source data type, and what is the transformation logic, then what is the target table, target column, and so on. So this information is provided. So this is actual the real-time document. So this I have shared yesterday, you people. So just go through this document, and then we will see the query search tool today. How we can use the query search tool for doing ETL testing part at high level. And query search tool itself will take a lot of so many classes, because I'm not covering each and everything in this tool. Okay, but we need to know how we can do basic things by using query search tool. Okay, there are many number of tools available in the market. So as I said in the last class, we have a development tools and also we have a testing tools. Query search is also a purely ETL testing tool. Okay, now, so first of all, let me open that application. Let me show you. So first of all, let me connect to this SQL developer, and also yesterday I have shown you how to install this query search and how to access the query search. So how to access the query search? As soon as you install the query search, we can access the query search by using the browser. Any browser you can. So you need to specify http://localhost:3306/query search. That is the URL I have shared. So let me open this. So this is my SQL developer tool. Yesterday I told you how to configure MySQL connection with the SQL developer by adding the driver. So here we'll get another tab, MySQL. When once you have attached the driver, MySQL driver to the SQL developer, you will get this tab. Here we need to provide the connection details. So whenever you install the query search tool, by default you will get the MySQL database also. Okay, in the same machine. So I have created few connections here. This is my source and this is my target database. So when you connect to the source, it will give you 4 tables, and if you connect to the target, it will give you more than 4 tables. Okay, so if you expand this particular tree, this is a JetCT. Okay, so this is a database which contains few tables. There are 3 tables: purchaser, sales, and sale item. And now this is the target table. So connection details are same, but the database is different. Okay, here this is the data warehouse. Here we have all the target tables: address underscore name, customer name, date, items, orders, product region. So these are the different target tables. Okay, so these tables by default you will get once you install your query search tool. Now, so this is the query search login screen. So I'm logging as an admin, login. It is little bit slow. Just please hold on. Okay. Right. So now I log into that application. Yesterday I spoke about few things here. So what are all things we discussed? Just I'll repeat once again. So here the basically ETL testing, in the sense we have a source and we have a target. These are the prerequisite we have. The basic criteria: we should have connection to the source, we should have connection to the target. But in the last week classes, I told you the target tables as well as source tables both are available in the same databases. But actually in the real time there will not be the scenario. So source is different and the target is a different. So the connection details also are different. So if you want to verify the target database or target tables against the source, we should require 2 connections. Okay, and if I want to do manually ETL testing, we can write a common query. We can get the data from the source, and also we can get the data from the target. Here we have required 2 queries. One is connecting to the source database and executing the query and get the data. And other query, you need to execute against the target database and get the data. And now we need to verify both of them. Either we can verify the table level, or we can verify the column level, or we can verify the count. So these are the 3 major criteria we need to follow. Okay, so the prerequisites are 2 things. We need to have source connection and source query. Source connection and source table query. This is the first thing. And the second thing we required is we have a connection, so, target connection. This is the source. This is the target connection, and also target query. These are the 2 things we require. Now this query we need to execute against the source database, and this target query we need to get the target database. Now we need to get the data, and as soon as we get the 2 different type of result set, right, we can call as a result set. We will get the 2 result sets, and top of these 2 result sets we can do 3 different validations. One is at column level validation, and the second one is table level validation, and the third thing is row count, because the number of rows are equal or not. So these are the 3 different validations we can do it. Okay, so the query search is designed such a way that we need to establish the 2 connections. We need to create 2 connections. By using these 2 connections, we need to create a query pair. So what is query pair? A query pair is a combination of source query and the target query. That is basically called as a query pair. So every query pair as considered as a one test case in query search. Every test case will be considered as one query pair. So if you want to execute an ETL test case, we should require source query and target query. Right? These 2 things are mandatorily required. So these 2 queries commonly we can call as a query pair. So in query search tool, query pair is a basic thing. So without query pair, we cannot do any validation, ETL validation. So first thing is we need to create our query pairs. Now, if you want to create the query pair, we should have some test case, or we should have some requirement what we need to validate against the target database, right? So let me show you one thing. So the first thing is we need to create a query pair, that as I said. So these query pairs can create in two different ways. Query pairs can be created in two different ways. Query pair, first of all, let me write here. Query pair is combination of source and target queries. Only thing is we need to specify the source and target queries, and whatever validations we have to do, that validations can be done by the tool itself. We don't need to use our logic there. So the tool itself has intelligence to validate the table and validate the columns and validate the rows. Okay. Only thing is we need to specify the source query as well as the target query. So this is the basically combination of source as target. Now, if I want to create a query pair, we have a two ways of creating query pairs. One is by using wizard. Wizard means it will provide the UI. Okay. And the second thing is manually write SQL command. Okay. So if you are very good at SQL commands, you can write manually. Or if you are not good at SQL commands, we can go through the wizard. So there are two ways of creating the query pairs. Okay. But wizard will be like this. So it will ask you to select the connection types, and it will give you the source tables, columns and mappings and everything. It will show step by step. But if you want to write query manually, we have to write the query. So there is no other option. Okay, these are the two ways we need to create the query page. Now let me open the tool and show you. So this is a tool. I have opened my browser. Right. The first thing is here at the side you can see design library. Right. So here you can see the query pair main tab. So this is a query pairs main tab. Under this, there are default query pairs which is already created for XMart and JetCity databases. And yesterday I have created one query pair using these two methods. One is for query method, other is one through wizard. So let me remove this and I'll create once again today. Removing the query pair which I have created yesterday. This one I have created through wizard, and this one I have created through query. So let me remove those things. Okay, fine. Now if I want to create a query pair, so that's a basic entity, the query search. So first of all I'm showing it through wizard, and then we go for the manually created. Okay, now if I want to create through wizard, what we need to do is here we have an option called launch query wizard. Launch query wizard. So just remember this flow. Anyway, I'll provide the document in step-by-step document. If you go through the document, you can do this all the steps. Okay. Now launch query wizard. So it will give you this window. So in this window, we need to click on the next. So here first we need to establish the connection with the source and as well as target. These are two important things we require. So one is source connections. So these connections are already created by query search. If you want to use some other databases, we need to create our own connections. Just like in this SQL developer, we have created new connection, right, for providing the connection detail. Similarly, and the connection is name is referring with these particular names. Similarly, in the query search, every connections to the sources and target databases have been created like this. So once we have connected this database, so where we need to establish these connections? So here there is an option, create connection at the corner, right? If you open this, see, let me show you how to create a connection. But the trial version is not eligible, not available for creating the connections here. When you create the connections, it will give you one window. So here it will guide you through arrow marks. So through administrator user I can connection. So let me give you here. Just a moment. We need to go to the admin section. Then only we can create the connections. Okay, just so now we are in the administrator window. So here also you can see here. This is the administration section. Administrator task will be can be done by using these ones. Okay. So if you want to add the new connection, you need to select this option. Add new connection. And it will give you one window here. Click on the next. And here we need to provide some connection name and the data source. Data source is nothing but by using ODBC connection you need to connect to some database. So using ODBC connection, how to create ODBC connection? Here if you go for ODBC, if we have some database background, you will know this. How to connect to the databases? There are two ways. By using JDBC you can connect, by using ODBC also you can connect. JDBC means Java database connectivity, that will use JDBC driver, and the SQL developer basically uses a JDBC connection. But ODBC is a object database connectivity that will be provided by the Microsoft. If I click on the ODBC here, it will open up the window. There we need to here, there will be some drivers will be provided for all the databases. So by using these drivers, we need to create one user DSN or system DSN. By using that DSN name, we can connect to the database. So basically, query search will use the data source as a connection. Okay, so we need to select some database here. So currently we are using MySQL, right? So let me go through MySQL. This is the data driver, and click on the next. To connect SQL, ask your DBA. So this is not possible for us. Let me give some connection. Click on the next. MySQL will allow us, I think so. Let me check. Next. Right. So now we need to provide some server name here. Port, database, username, password, and confirm password. Just like a SQL developer. How we have connected in the SQL developer. Similar way we need to provide all these details and then finish. So whichever name we have provided in the previous screen. So with this name connection will be stored. So we need to create these connections for the source database as well as the target database. So now query search itself is already created few connections for those databases. Now I will create a new query pair by using those connections. So now how to create the query pair? Now we will see now. So first of all, we need to go this window and launch query wizard. Okay, so this will be there. This is a screen. Next, here this is a source connection and this is the target connection. So we need to take the source connection. So ZCT underscore source. This is the source connection I'm taking. And here we need to take the target connection. So here my target is DW underscore target. So this is my target database connection. So now connection is done. Now click on the next. So as I said, whenever I establish the connection between the two source as target database, what we are going to validate, we need to clearly say. I say three different ways we can validate. Once we get the result set, we can check the column level validation or the source columns and target columns are exactly same or not, and table level validation. Table level validation means all the columns from the source table and all the columns from the target table. So those two tables we need to validate, and the row count. So number of records in the source table and number of records in the target table, that we need to validate. So these are the key different levels we can validate. Now here I am taking the first option, column level comparison. Next. So as you click on the next, it will give you the source schemas and the target schemas. Schema is also a kind of entity within a database, okay, which contains a similar kind of tables. So in the source schemas, I have three source schemas. We need to select the ZCT as a source schema, and the target schema is our DW. This is our target schema. Next, click on the next. Right. So now it will enter into the next screen. So it will extract all the tables from the source and also tables from the target. So these are the three tables we have in the source, and these are the number of tables we have in the target. Now which table we need to map with which table, that we need to check here. So what are the two tables we need to select? So in the source table I have a ZCT.purchaser. This is my table. I want to check this table with the customer underscore dimension table. Okay, what we need to do, just drag and drop here. Drag the first table with this drag. So just it is drag and drop. When you do the drag and drop, it will establish a connection. See now, ZCT purchaser to DW customer underscore T. Now here it will show the columns which are present in the source table and the columns which are present in the target table. Now what are all columns we are going to validate? So that we need to specify the mapping, either one column or multiple columns. Now let me take few values here. So for example, I have a email column here. I have an email column in the target column, right? So now move this email column here to here. Just we need to move it. Okay, as soon as you move it, it will establish the connection. So it will mapping is been done. Now I'll take one more column. So here I have a full name, but here only I have first name, last name, both are different. I cannot do that. So here I have a phone number, and let me check the phone number. So phone to phone, just map here, right? Now here ID purchaser is there. So do we have the ID purchaser? We don't have the ID purchaser, but we have another column called source ID. So this we need to map with the source ID. So these are the columns, whichever columns we want to map, we need to map. So if you observe here, whenever I do mapping here, it is generating the queries here. See, select email, phone, ID purchase from jetcities.purchaser, and here select email, phone, source ID from dw.customer_d. So this is a job done by the query wizard itself, because we no need to write any queries here. By default, whenever I select the columns as well as tables, automatically it will generate the data. Now click on the next. So as soon as it created the queries, this is the next step. So where we want to store the query pair. Okay. So either we need to create a new folder. Under this folder we want to store the query pair, or we need to use the existing the folder here. The tree structure, as I shown you before. So can we store this in the new folder, or can we store this in the existing folder? That's what I was asking. So let me create the new folder here. My folder name is I'm taking the root folder query pairs. Under this, I'll give one folder name with my name. So under this folder, I'll create my query pair. So here we need to provide the suite name. Would you like to create a new test suite for query pairs? Yes or no? If it is yes, just provide the suite name here. So I'll provide my suite name is Pavan_suite. Okay. Now click on the next. So these are the all the details which we have selected from the previous screen. So this is the source connection, this is the target connection, this is the comparison type I have selected, and this is the source schema, target schema, parent folder is query pairs, folder name is Pavan, and suite name is this one. There is a one mapping. Now create. So now this will create a query pair. So as soon as it is done, query pair generation complete. Just click on OK button. Okay, so as soon as you created your query pair, what you need to do is you need to this is currently we are in the administration tree, right? So we need to navigate to the query pair window. So go here, and here let us go for design library. Okay, so now you can see all our query pair. So xmart jetcity is already present. Now this is a new query pair folder I have created. If you select this particular folder, you will see the query pair which I have created will be displayed here. This is my query pair which I have created. Now we need to verify, right? So if I run this query pair, it will give you as the result. So either passed or failed, or validation is correct or not. That will be validated by this query pair. Now if you select this query pair, or if I select run the just double click on this query pair, just double click. Okay. Now it will open some windows here. So it can show you the source query and the target query, and it can also show you the properties of the particular query pair. See, this is the name of the query, and if you want to write some description here, usually we will write the test case here as part of description. Okay, and the name of the query pair will be usually the test case ID. So whatever test cases you have written, the test case ID we need to store here. And description will be the steps. What are the source query, target query, what are the tables, that information you will provide in the description. And design_runtime. So time run. So this is a tab where we need to execute our query pair. So currently the query pair is not yet run. So if you want to run this query pair, here this combo box, it will show you some agents. So agents means whenever you install the query search, by default there is one agent will be installed. So that's the reason if you go and see the services, agent should always up and running. That you need to make sure before you are running your query pairs. So let me open the services and show you. Oh, sorry, not here. Just a second. services, yes, services open. So in the services there is a service called agent, query search agent. So that service should be always up and run. So because this is a responsible for running your query pair. If this agent is not running or some issue with this agent, you cannot run your query pair. Okay, this is a main important component of query pair, query search. Now let me open this window again. Now we need to run this our query pair. So how to run this query pair? So select this agent, just click on the run option. Okay, first it will load the data. First of all agents are currently offline. Connect an agent to start this design runtime. Okay, no issues. So it is loading the data. First of all, there are three stages. First, load the data and run the query pair, and then analysis. There are three things it will do. So first, it is running the, it is loading the data. Suppose if agent is busy or agent is not properly aligned, so then it will not run. Let me check. It will take some time. This is a way of running your query pair. So basically it will execute your source query to the against the source database, target query, and then it will analyze the result. So analyzing the result, that logic will be already there in your query search. Something wrong, usually it will not take that much time. Let me run once again. You can stop this execution if you want. And now again go here, design time run, or close everything. Let me start from the beginning here. Let me open this query pair and go to the properties. Next, this one, design time run, and click on the run option directly. All agents are currently offline. Connect an agent to start this design runtime. So let me restart the agent, then you can try it. Okay, this is my agent, query search agent. Let me restart this. Okay, now it is restarted. Okay, now what I can do is just logging out. I'm logging again. Stop here. I'm relogging. Admin login. Okay, so whichever query page we already created, still there will be there. You can go here. I can see under this folder. This is the query pair we have created, but the query execution is failed. That's the reason it is giving the arrow mark. Again, we can run this. We can run this any number of times. Okay, so just click on this, double click. Now go to here, design time run. So last time I have executed, that is failed, right? So now runs like once again. Click on the run again. First loading should happen, then running stage. It will change to the running stage, then analyzing the data. See, now it is running. Okay, after running it get failed. So why it is failed? So it will give you the result. Okay, this is the basically after failing in the design time run, it will give you the results. See, now source table number of rows are 2000, target table the number of rows are 3250. Okay, and row count difference is there. So 1250 and failed row count is, this is the difference actually. So 1589 failed row count. And now if you come, these are all the different properties, how much time it is run, what is the performance, these details will be displayed additionally. And if you go here, view query results. So when you click on this, it will give you in the detailed picture. So here, this is the source data, it is captured. So I think around 2000 plus records will be there. And this is the target tab. It is giving the data from the target table. This is the data which is captured from the target tables. And these are the failures between the source and the target. So wherever the failures occur, it will highlight with the red marks because that mapping occur failed. Maybe the data is not correct or data is not equal or number of rows or columns are not similar. So it will highlight with the red marks all the failures. And again, it will give you the source query and the target query. So this is the basically result analysis. Okay, this will give you the results. I'll also show you the past cases after a few minutes. So this is how we need to create the query pairs. This is a basic thing. So whatever queries we have prepared your own. So if you want to do manual ETL testing, the design preparation we need to do in the different way because we need to club together where we need to use the minus operator. But here we cannot use minus because the source, why we need to use minus, because we need to check whether any records are there in the left table which are not there in the right table, or the records are there in the right table which are not there in the left, right, and the common things. If you want to do manually ETL testing or manual validation of ETL part, then we need to use a minus query. But when you use the tool itself has its own intelligence. Okay, we no need to use any minus operator, we no need to club the queries together. But here, even though if you write two different queries, the two different queries will be clubbed together, execute and source and target databases pull the data. After pulling the data, the comparison kind of intelligence will be take care of the tool. So there our effort will be reduced. So here we no need to write the complex queries. With the simple queries we can do the ETL validation part. Okay, this is how we need to do. This is the entire flow. I'll provide you a simple document for you. So it contains all the flow, each and every flow with the screenshots, whatever flow I have done this. So these are basically, this is a way we can create our mapping through wizard. Now I will show you how to create the mapping while creating the SQL commands without using wizard. Okay. Now how to create the query pair manually. So in the same folder, I want to create my new query pair manually without using wizard. If you want to use the wizard, we need to go here, launch query wizard and do the navigations part. Now here what I want to do is right click on the folder. On the same folder I want to create my new query pair. Now create a new query pair. Create a new query pair. Just give name of the query pair here. The query pair here is I'll save with my name one query pair through query. So not through widget, okay? Through query. If you want to write description, you can write description. If you want to do some mapping, you can still do it. Otherwise, just save it. This is just a name, nothing else, okay? So now it will store with the name. Now it will ask you the source query and the target query. So here we need to write our source query and the target query, okay? So now before that we need to connect to the source and target database. Here we need to verify. So suppose this is my source connection. Let me write a query first. Select star from ZCT dot purchaser. This is my table we have, right? So here purchaser. This is my source table. Now execute this. Contains 1000 records. So there are some records are there. So here I want to map like email. Okay, so this is my, I'll take one column called email, and the same query will be executed at the target database. But here the column is not email, table is not purchaser. And the target, we have a table called customer underscore dimension. That's the table. So DW is schema name dot. Here my table is customer underscore dimension. So I think column name is same. Let me expand this and you can check. Is there any, sorry, email is there? No, I don't, not this table. Customer underscore team. Expand this table. You can see email, yeah, email column is present. So now I execute this. So in the both the tables, emails are there. Now go here and copy the same query. This is my source query, and this is my target query. Source query and the target query. But which connection it will use? We need to select the connection here. Okay, here we need to select the connection. So here source connection is ZCT underscore source, and here the target connection is ZCT DW underscore target. So this is my connection. Right, so now we have done this. Next one is we need to save this first of all. Just save here. As soon as you save this, just close this. Again, save the changes. Yes. Once you save this, the new query pair have been created here. So this query pair I have created by using query statements, not through widget. Okay. So now how we need to run this? Again, open this and go to the design underscore time run. So here just click on the run option. But in the trial version, we don't have any agents. By default, it will use the existing agent. But in the real time, we will have number of agents. A number of people will be accessing this one, right? Suppose there are two persons are accessing the same query search. Two agents should be ready because one person is one person is running their query pairs in one agent, and other person is running the query pairs by using another agent. Same agent cannot be used by multiple people. Okay, and again this is based upon the number of licenses. Now click on the run. See again the fail because same query I have written. So whichever I have written through widget, the same query I have written. So these are mismatches are there. So these are the source number of rows, target rows, and this is the difference between the rows. And if you go to the view query results window, and here you can clearly see source data and the target data, and both the things both the tables I have created email. So these are the failures, and now source query as well as target query, these things will be common. Okay, so why it is failed? Because it is not exactly same as source table and target table. Okay, there will be some rules applied, and based upon the rules the data is loaded into the target. So that's the reason mapping has been failed. So I will show you now past scenarios. Now before that, let me share you one document. So far what we have seen is how we have to create the query pairs, how we can execute those query pairs, and how we need to analyze the result. So if you go for the history tab here, you can see how many query pairs we have run and which time and which user ran this query. So that information it can be shown, and DTR history over here. So the list of the history will be displayed basically in these two tabs. Okay. Now let us go with the existing ones. So these two query pairs I have created my own, right? Now let us go with the existing ones. I'll show you a few another documents. Let me show you a sample document, mapping document, and their query pairs are already created in the query pairs query search tool. Let me share those documents. So here, this is the document which contains all the mappings between the source table and target tables. If you come here, okay, this is the table customer, but the table name is customer they have given, but actual the table name is purchaser. Okay, this is wrongly created here. Actual the table name in the source is purchaser, and the target table is customer underscore dim. This is exact mapping. And here there are some source tables and source columns and corresponding target tables and the target columns they have provided, and appropriate transformation logics also have been created here. So based upon these transformation logics, they have created all these query pairs in the tool itself. Now I will show you how they have created query pairs for these transformations. Okay, so it is not possible to show you all of them because this is almost 100 plus. So just one or two I can show you, and rest of them you can just go through them. Okay, so these are the transformations they have created, and based upon this mapping document and transformation, they have created their own query pairs. Now I'm going to show you those query pairs, how they have created. Now open this one, close all this stuff. Right, so here there is a ZCT folder, right? So just expand this. So under this JetCT folder, they have created 3, 4, 5 different folders for 5 different tables. Now if you go to the customer underscore dim, here these are the query pairs they have created. Now if you observe this document which I have shown you just now, so this is the document I have shown you, right? So JetCT-ID purchaser. So this is my query pair name. So similarly here also they have provided some query pair name. So here the source table is purchaser, source column is ID purchaser. This is the direct map, and this is the table name and the source ID. So for each mapping they have created one query pair here. So if you observe the first one is invalid, let it be here. From the second one, 1.01, they have started created query pairs. So the second one, 1.01, right? So purchaser is the source table, ID purchaser is the source column, worker is the source type. This is a direct map. Customer underscore dim is a target table. Source ID is a column. See now, here the column is ID purchaser. Here target column is source underscore ID. So what is the mapping we need to? This is a direct map. So there is no transformation is not required. This is my test case. One mapping itself is a one test case. So for that they have created one query pair. Now let me open this query pair and show you. Just double click on this query pair. It will open and show you all the details. Just double click. Right. Now you see here, this is a source query. So we need to extract the ID purchaser as source ID. This is some alias they have used from purchaser as P. So purchaser also the table. This is the table alias order by source ID. So this is a query, and this is the target query they have created. This is against the target table. Okay. Now these two queries have been created for validating the transformation, which I have shown you just now. Now if you go to the properties tab here they will give you clear description. See now, validates source purchaser.id.purchaser maps to target customer underscore dim source ID with transformation logic direct map. So by seeing this description, you can easily understand whichever mapping have been created in this, the same mapping is created as a description here. Okay, for every mapping they have created different query page here. Okay, which is already they have already created them. Now if you go to the design runtime, so I already executed one time this query pair. If you want to execute, you can still run this again. So now I'll run the query pair again. So if you click on the run again, it will execute the same query pair. So what it is saying, there are unsaved changes in the query pair. Do you want to save all changes before starting a design time run? Yes. Now it will run the query pair. For every mapping we need to create one query pair. That itself is one test case. One second, let me run once again. Now it is started. Right, so it is passed. So source, in the source we have 2000 records rows, and the target we have 2000 records. So that's the reason test case is passed. If you want to see the details, if you go view query results, here it will give you the all the columns and the data. So this is the data, this is the target data, and there are no failures. If there are some failures, it will show you the failures here, but there are no failures at all. So there is no data display. And exactly if you want to send this information to the developer, so these are the screenshots you can send to the developer. Okay, because this is the proof, this is the result. And also in the mapping, whatever queries you have used, this is the source query you have used, this is the target query you have used, this is the source data, this is the target data. Here you will see the difference. So this is we need to send to the developer screenshots. You can also export this result. There is an option here. You can export all these results in Excel or CSV or XML file. So basically we use Excel sheet. So once you export all these details to Excel files, you can send that Excel file to the developer directly. Okay, fine. So this is how we need to execute all our query pairs. These are all existing query pairs. See now. So if you go here, little bit go back. So these are all the different query pairs have been created for all these mappings which I have shown you just now. See, these are all the different mappings. These query pairs have been created. Okay, so for example, let us say email part. So fifth one, where is email? This is the email. So email is a direct map again. So purchaser email and customer underscore dim is a target table and there is an email. But what is the example here? This is given some examples here. This is again the direct map, right? Or you can go for some transformations here. Date join, is it there? Yeah, it is there. So let us the fourth one because it's transformation logic, right? So we already seen one direct map. Now we will see with the some transformation logic. So here the purchaser is the source table, date join is the source column, and what is the transformation logic we need to apply? Convert the date format from dd myn yy to yy This is the transformation logic. And in the target table is date underscore dim is the target table, and target column is the date. Okay, so this is our mapping between purchaser date joined column and date hyphen dim date column, and this is a transformation logic. Now let us see how they have created for date join. This is a query pair created for that mapping. So when I open this one, just double click, it will give you the source query and the target query. If you observe this, what they have created, select id purchaser along with the date. They have also selected id purchaser because at least we need one primary. So source ID, this is assumed as source ID as a column alias. This is a join date. This is also a column alias from purchaser as a P order by source ID. So this is a query they have created against the source database. Now come to the target database. In the target database source ID, and here they have used casting operator. See, in MySQL this is a function. But if you want to check with this Oracle, there is a two date functions are there. We already discussed date functions, right? So by using those date functions, we need to convert the date. So this is a MySQL function. So this function will convert the original date to required format. And then this is the rest of the code where this is the table column name condition also we need to mention here. So in the both the tables, so here the joined date ID equal to c dot date ID equal to d dot id. What is c and d here? C is a customer underscore dim, d is a date underscore dim. There are two tables at this because the customer underscore dim should come from the customer table. That column is not present in the date underscore dim. So I think this is the same logic have been created as a comments here. See this, if I see this comment, you will know this. Join the customer underscore dim table. See now, join the customer underscore dim table to the date dim table on this particular condition. So as per the comments, they have created this particular query. So this is the source query and this is the target query. Now these are the connections they are using. Now go to the properties, and if you see the description, you can understand. For the same mapping, they have created the description. Usually here we need to specify the test case ID, name, column, and here validate source purchaser dot date joined maps to target date underscore dim dot date with transformation logic. This is a transformation logic. Okay. Now go to the design part. Now we need to execute the same mapping. As of now, we haven't run this mapping. Just click on the run option. Alright, so now test case is passed. So here the number of rows are 2000 and here the target is also 2000. Let us go for view query results. And now it will show you all the past ones because there is no red lines, everything is perfectly loaded in the target systems. This is the target. There are no failures. So if you find any failures, immediately you can export it because we could not see any failures here, so that it is export option is not there. If something is failure happens, we can export those results and send it to the developer. Okay, there's the no results here, and here query, source query, and the target query. So these are the details it will show you in the results screen. Okay, here the export option is there in the no failure section. Okay, fine. So these are the way we need to create our query pairs, or we can exclude these query pairs while checking the validation part. Okay, so this is just high level. There are a number of options available in this. You need to just go through and do it. I'll give you the all the clear documentation. What how we need to use all these options, how we need to create the query page. In the step-by-step document, I have the tutorial. They have provided some user guide. I'll show you the document. Just a minute. But all ETL tools will not be like this. Every tool is different context. But the core concept is same. We have a source query, we have a target query, it will give us a result set, and comparing those result set will be done by the tool. If I don't use the tool, that comparison has done by the user or test engineer. That's the only way we need to use the tool. Let me open this document. Just a minute. Right. So this is a simple tutorial I'll provide you. So here it will give you the step by step what I have created so far. Whatever screens I have shown you, everything will be there. So the step by step source connection, target connection creation, same thing I have done, just shown you. Okay, so just go through this document and do whatever I have told you in the class. Everything is there. Only thing is you need to go step by step. Okay, and this is just high level. If you want to know the end-to-end flow of the query search, this is a document you can use it. So once you try this document, then go for the other options. So if you want to go for the detailed options, I will also provide you some user guide for this. So user guide means this is a huge document, 63 pages document. Here they have explained all the options available under query search tool, different kinds of mappings. Okay, but as of now, whatever mappings I have shown you in the document, all the mappings they have already created the query pair. If you go through and see each and every query pair, you will know how they have created and what are the logic they have used. Okay, everything you will know. These are the different query pairs they have created for customer underscore team. For everything, address underscore team. So under this also they have created few query pairs. So everything. So these query pairs have been created based upon the mapping document which I have shown you. So around 100 plus query pairs are there. For every query pair, they have for every mapping they have created the query pairs. Just double click on the query pair. Just see the what is the source query they have created, how the target query they have created, and everything you can see by seeing the document. Let me show you once again. Yeah. So this is the query pair. This is the mapping sheet. See, there are n number of mappings are there. This is for customer table mappings. Even customer table itself, we have around 20 to 30 mappings. And sales table, sales item table, every table having n number of mappings. For all these mappings, they have created query page. Just you need to check, double click and check the source query, target query, just run this and check whether it's working according to your mapping document or not. So that way we can practice this. This is basically the trial version available only for 15 days. So whatever you wanted to do, just practice this only for 15 days. Okay, fine. So this is all about the testing through tool, automated tool. This is purely ETL testing tool. So it is not for development. But as I said in the last class, there are some development tools out there like Informatica, IBM Data Stage. So those tools are development as well as the testing. There we will call as a jobs. Whatever we are calling here as a query page, there people call as a jobs, ETL jobs. In the development point of view, they will run these ETL jobs. They will load the data in the target machines. Then they will test it. So these are the way we need to create our mappings and check the data in the source and target tables. Okay, right? So now I copy all these documents. So mapping document, user guide, tutorial, everything in your Google. Just go through that part. Now let's move on to the other one. We will see how we have to use query search tool, how we have created query page, how to run the query page, and how to analyze the results. So this part we have seen. Now we'll come to the FAQs and detailed projects. I'll show you few FAQs will be seen at the last part. And before that, Sandeep is asked a few questions about surrogate key and the lookup tables. There are two things. So basically, surrogate, there are three different keys are there in the databases. Okay, one is you need to understand these keys. One is called primary key that we already know it. Primary key. Other one is we can say composite key. And other one is we can say surrogate key. Okay, primary key, composite key, and the surrogate key. So these are the uh, not required, Sandeep. You don't need to install SQL Server or Oracle. Nothing will be required. If you install query search tool, automatically MySQL also will be installed. By default, you will get the MySQL database. So by using the SQL developer, you can connect the MySQL database, which is already installed by query search tool. Okay. Yeah. Now we need to understand these three two keys. We need to understand the difference: primary keys, composite keys, and surrogate key. These are the two important things. So you people already know the primary key, right? What is the primary key? Primary key is nothing but a unique plus not null. Unique plus not null. What does it mean? Unique means that particular column we can store only the unique values. Duplicates not allowed in that particular column. And not null means we cannot store null values in that particular column. We cannot store null values in that particular column. So that is all about the primary key. And when we need to create the primary key at the time of table creation, we can create the primary key. So that we already know it. Now we need to understand the composite key. Sometimes what happens is, let us say for example, let us say one table called employee table. So usually an employee table, we have two columns, for example, employee ID, and there is another column called employee underscore SSN number. SSN number. Okay. Now if I put primary key, I can put primary key on particular column. So if I put the primary key on employee ID, the data will be like this. So let me show you. So for example, if I say employee ID 111, SSN number will be something different. Suppose this is 222, employee ID can be something different. And 333, it can be something different. So this will be there. So this is, if I define employee ID as a primary key, the employee ID should contains only the unique records. Okay. Suppose I want to make a primary key of combination of two columns. Combination of two columns, I want to make a primary key. Okay, in that case, how we need to do is, I need to create the primary key on two columns. How to create? We need to specify like this: primary key of. Here we need to specify the two columns. When you create a table, see this is the way we need to create the table, right? Create table. So here I can say table name. Let us say EMP is my table name. And here we need to say EMP ID or employee ID and EMP name, comma, we have some other column called SSN number, for example. So after completing this, here we need to specify primary key of EMP ID with SSN number. Combinedly, this is a primary key. So now if I define like this, how we can store the data now? Let's say like this. See, employee ID column can accept duplicate keys. Now see, I can store like this now. If I define like this, employee ID column, or this is EMP ID I'm saying, right? Let us say EMP ID. So this particular column can accept the duplicates, because I'm not saying employee ID is alone primary key, right? So with the combination of these two keys is a primary key. Suppose this employee SSN number is 12345 and this is the employee SSN number is, for example, 67890. So this is it. Now if you observe the combination of these two records, both are unique records, right? This is 111 12345, this is 111 67890. If you see the combination, both are unique records. But if you see the only first this one, this is not a unique record, right? So this is basically called as a composite key. Composite key in the sense a combination of two keys. We can specify the primary key on two or more columns. Sometimes we can also create the primary key on more columns. That is all about the composite key. Primary key, if I define one column as a primary key, that is a primary key. We can store only unique values and they are not nulls. If I say composite key, if I define more than one column as a group as a primary key, then that is called as a composite key. Here this is also primary key, but we are applying the primary key on more than one column. That is a composite key. Surrogate key is a different one, because primary key, composite key we have to define at the time of table creation. At the time of table creation. But surrogate key is not like that. Basically, what is surrogate is? It is basically used for identify the unique record. Identify the unique record. So, for example, in Oracle, there is a sequence. There is a concept called a sequence. There is a concept called a sequence. So, what sequence will do is, suppose in the same table, if I want to enter some records, see this. Let me take the same example here again. These are the few records I have. Now, if I want to insert few records, if I create a sequence for this, suppose let me create a sequence. How to get the sequence? Create sequence on table name emp. Here we need to specify some parameters. Start with 1, comma, end with 10 or end with some maximum number. So this is a sequence. So if I create this sequence on this employee table, now indirectly what happens is, whenever we entering the records in a table, logically, internally, it will assign the sequence number to every record. Every record will identify with this particular sequence number. Okay, so this sequence number cannot be seen in the column until unless we select this. Okay, so the sequence is started from 1. So this first record, it will give you as a 1. And the second record, it will give you as a 2 here. And the third record, it will give you the 3 here. These values are up to you from where we need to start, where we need to end. So this is basically called a sequence concept in the Oracle. And what was this surrogate key? Surrogate key is nothing but we will identify the rows by using uniquely by using sequence value. So these sequence values are present in one column. That column is called as a surrogate key column. Okay, whichever case column is having the sequence numbers, that particular sequence numbers are uniquely identify the records. That particular column we can say is a surrogate key column. Similarly, if we go for SQL Server, there we could call as identity column. So these are not, we won't create by default. So we need to create them. By default, it will not be there. Identity column. So each and every record will have a unique number. So these sequence numbers, suppose tomorrow, suppose here I have 3 records are inserted. Now I have modified the sequence, start with 100 and end with 1000. Now some user is started entering this new row, then the sequence will start from 100 now, because we modified this from the 100. And similarly, the maximum sequence number will go as still 1000. So this is how we need to use the surrogate keys. Basically, surrogate key is used for identifying the rows uniquely. Not only one row and second row, all the entire row with one sequence number. And if you go for SQL Server, in the SQL Server we call as an identity column. In Oracle we call as a sequence. In Oracle we call as a sequence. In SQL Server we call as an identity column. Okay, so that's how we need to understand. So primary key, composite key, and the surrogate key. So these are all very important in the interview perspective. Just remember these points. Okay, right? So now we'll move to the last part. Any questions so far, anyone? Okay, I'll provide you some documents. Lookup. Yeah, one more thing. Lookup. What is lookup? This is a basic term. What is a lookup? General meaning of lookup. Suppose I want one item. There are some different items are there in front of me. I want to search whether my item is present among those items or not. For example, if you go for the shop for purchasing one item, right? So if you go for once you go to the shop, you will ask for that particular item. He will search whether that item is available in the store or not. If it is available, he will pick the item and they will provide you, right? So that is basically called as a lookup. So in the database perspective, suppose there is a table. Okay, there are a table. In this table, there are n number of columns. or n number of rows, n number of rows. So in this number of columns and n number of rows, you want to fetch for some record. Okay, and on this is a one table. This is a one table one. Let us see there is another table. There is a second table, and it also have n number of rows and n number of rows. Now you need some record. You need some record. The record details are coming from this table as well as this table, right? Now your searching algorithm will looking for this record from the both the tables. So now in that context, these both the tables called as a lookup tables, but internally we will create one more table here. Create, suppose there is a table 3 now. This is a table 1, this is a table 2. Exact data is present under table 1 and table 2. Now you are getting the record which is common from table 1 and table 2, right? The record you are extracting, few columns are extracting from table 1, few columns are extracting from the table 2, and whatever the data you have extracted, that data will be stored on the table 3 now. Okay, extracted data will be stored on the table 3. Here actual result set or data will be there. Now if you want to check this record, now you no need to directly go to table 1 and the table 2. Directly you will look into table 3, right? Because this table 3 is already having these records and table 2 records. So directly you will look for this particular table. So this table 3 basically called as a lookup table. Basically table 3 is called as a lookup table. So this contains actual record. Whatever record you have, that record it has. So that is basically lookup table. So from which tables this data is getting? From the multiple tables, more than one table. Instead of searching all those tables, you are creating one table, and whatever records you want to pull and store those records, you will write a query to get records from multiple tables, insert those records in a single table. So in future, if you want to use those records, you will always check for the lookup table, not for other tables. Okay, so this is basically general terminologies.